All right, good evening and welcome, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your night to join us for this public hearing. This is a public hearing for an EGLE application that was received to install a 170-foot long dock and 2 boat hoists in Whitney Township, Arenac County. My name is Ryan Blazik. I'm with EGLE's Environmental Support Division, and I'll just be helping to moderate the public hearing tonight. So as moderator, it's going to go through a few things here. First off is our agenda. This is what it's going to look like tonight. We're going to go through a quick introduction. That's what we're doing right now. A big thing to keep in mind is there's actually going to be 2 parts of the hearing tonight. We're going to start off with an informational session. So that's where the applicant has an opportunity to provide some information on the project. And we're going to follow that up with some question and answers. So you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions, and we'll tell you how we're going to do that a little bit later. We're going to talk about the ways to submit official comments, including the second part of tonight, which is the official hearing part. So that's where you have an opportunity to make a statement for the record on this application. And then we'll also let you know who to contact if you have additional questions. All right, in case you haven't joined us for one of these public hearings before, all lines are going to be muted during the hearing, so you'll be able to hear us, but we can't hear you. However, you can submit questions at any time using the Q&A box in your Zoom toolbar. However, we'll only be answering questions on the project during the Q&A session, and you will also be allowed to raise your hand to ask them verbally at that time. So just hold on. After the informational session, I'll go through some instructions on how we're going to do the Q&A session. A little bit later, I'll go to the hearing instructions as well. And then also we are recording this hearing. So this hearing is recorded and it'll be posted on EGLE's YouTube channel in a couple days. You'll be able to watch it again or forward it on if you should choose to do so. All right, and at this point, we're going to introduce our other EGLE staff on the line. So Nikki, Randy, it'd be great if you could turn your cameras on and introduce yourselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole King with EGLE's Water Resources Division out of the Bay City office. I'll be your hearing officer today. Joining me today is Randy Ebelsizer, also with the Water Resources Division out of the Bay City office. Today, we are here to listen to public comment regarding the application submitted to our department by Craig Sheffer for a 170-foot-long dock with 2 boat hoists. I'd like to remind everyone that we have not yet made a permitting decision on this application, and we do value all of your comments and opinions. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Nicole, for that introduction. All right, so we're going to move into the informational session where the applicant is able to provide some information on the project. So we're going to try to find Andrew Minnick and Craig Sheffer in the audience to provide some information. It looks like we found Craig. All right. Are you there, Craig?
Yep. Good evening, Ryan. I'm here. And actually myself and Andrew and Ryan are all together here.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I have your slides here. So if you just want to let me know when to change slides, and then if you just keep it to around 10-15 minutes max, that would be great to keep us on time.
All right, good deal. Yeah, so Ryan, yeah, slide, you could just keep it on that slide for right at the moment. First of all, I would just like to say I appreciate everybody joining this evening and to learn more about our proposed dock. And Ryan, Nicole, and Randy, I appreciate you helping us to present our information. So let's get right into it. You can see on this first slide here that we have a decent sized family, and it shows kind of a temporary or seasonal dock that I've been putting up. A little bit about myself and my family. So we've been residents of Pinewood since 2012, and we're a very active outdoors family. Many folks in the neighborhood know us, and we do a lot of swimming, playing on the docks, boating, jet skiing, kayaking, beach walking. All those kinds of things are super important details to us. And creating a permanent dock has been something that's been in the works in my mind and in the planning phases with just myself and my family for quite a few years now. to give you a little idea of some of our just our own personal design considerations that we just wanted to take into play. Really, I guess, first of all, it really started with our family usage and how we use the space. And so, as you see in those photos, we do have a big family. You can actually click to the next one there, Ryan. And it's I guess that's a similar same photo, but anyways, either way, we spend a lot of time in the water, on the beach, on the docks, and so forth. And so being able to have a big sturdy dock for to help us to just enjoy the natural resources of Lake Huron, which we're very fortunate to be part of, like many of our neighbors as well, was to create something that we can all use. And so thinking of all those points, we had really the structural integrity was a serious part of it. We want it to be able to withstand the waves and the weather that Mother Nature will bring. The aesthetics is a super important part. As you can see in our photo there, our current dock, I think, looked really nice. We always took pride in it, and we've had many compliments on it. And then getting into the accessibility of it, and we're proposing it to be 6 foot wide. And the reason why we propose it to be 6 foot wide is really our usage. We, as I said, we have kids running back and forth, and adults. We just have a lot of fun with the water and jumping off and swimming and all those things. And then really for elders, it's the accessibility part was a super important part and very near and dear to us. As many of our neighbors know, they've probably seen us over the years take my dad, who suffered with Parkinson's, down to the end of our dock because he wanted to jump in just like the rest of his kids and grandkids did. And so to do that, it takes 2 grown adults and to walk down a 4 foot dock that's somewhat unstable because it's a temporary dock. It was really challenging. And so that's something that I really wanted to not have be a hindrance for our usage. And my mom is turning 80, and she loves to go on the dock. And so you never know when those kind of things arise, and ourselves included as we get older. So having that width is super important. So that way we can get down our dock, whether it's walking, using a walker, using a wheelchair, for any of those reasons. And just being able to enjoy it with our neighbors. And then speaking of neighbors, that's a very, very important part of all of our design considerations. It really starts with first our next door neighbors and our easement. There's an easement right adjacent to our property. It's 50 foot wide, and many of our Pinewood friends and neighbors use the easement, and they swim in the water. If you're looking at these photos, the photo on the right, it would be just to the left is where the easement is. And so we share all the same space. And so having our dock kind of offset to the south slightly was part of that design consideration, and being able to enjoy that space. And then also beach walkers is something that was super important to us. Being beach walkers ourselves, we know the challenges of walking down the shore. As you can see in the background, there's many docks, between here and the point. There's probably 60 to 75 of them. And so maintaining our dock at a 6 foot 6 inch height allows beach walkers to walk down our beach without being hindered. And so that's ourselves and any of our neighbors. And so our height of our dock over the top of the water, I've always maintained my temporary docks at 48 inch height, and we plan to maintain our permanent dock at a 48 to 60 inch height. This will allow water walkers to pass through easily. We do that ourselves, and many of our neighbors do that. Kayakers, we have kayaks, and the kids float in and under and around the docks all the time, and our neighbors are welcome to pass by and under our dock as well. I think boaters is a super super big consideration. It being a boater ourselves, we want to make sure that our dock has the proper visual aesthetics to it, as well as notification, so boaters know, like like lights at the end of the dock, navigation lights, etc. And meet the things. You can switch to the next slide there, Ryan, if that's okay. Yeah, so anyways, those were all kind of like the the base design criteria. And then you can see in this picture here, this was really just showing in our design consideration, we wanted to look at what are all the other permanent docks on Lake Huron. And as most people know, there aren't many. There is one, however, just 1,200 feet to the north of us. It's Brown's Landing. It's a little more commercialized. Their dock is, based on Google Earth, is about 166 feet long from the shore. And you can see it in the picture there. Further down, halfway between there and the city of Tawas, is another permanent dock. It's down near Alabaster. And I've reviewed that dock many times over the years, and looked at that one as well. Other than that, I don't know of any other permanent docks from Tawas to Agre. So we just wanted to make something that's going to be nice, that everybody can enjoy and look at, and perhaps come for a walk on there someday. You can, Ryan, if you could switch to the next slide, please. So so this is really just kind of like a visual that kind of gives you some of the ideas. It's some of what we already talked about, and that was the height of the dock at the sand or the beach area. We wanted to maintain it at a 6'6" height. The very first pile, I'll let Andrew talk to some of the kind of the design of the dock itself, but the distance from the seawall to the first pile is about 24 feet. It gives nice free movement for going down the beach, and even if somebody was rolling wagons or whatever other kind of things people bring down the beach, seasonal dock equipment or whatever it may be, can easily pass through that area with no obstruction of poles or stanchions. And then our stanchions throughout the water are going to be maintained at approximately 16 feet. And so those other dimensions there of the 48 to 60 was the height above the water, and really just kind of provides some of those visuals. And so I think if you I guess, Ryan, maybe go to the next slide, and that one will kind of just give an overall layout. So we've had our whole entire property surveyed, as well as determining where our property lines are, etc. And if you take a look at this kind of survey here, I'm not able to kind of show you with arrows, but there's kind of two docks in this picture. The one that is just a slightly bit shorter and has some elevation numbers next to it was our existing temporary dock. That's very much similar to the dock that we've always put in out into Lake Huron. It's around 150 so feet long, and we've had nothing but great compliments from that over the years, and so it generally worked for those kinds of reasons. And so the other one, kind of overlaid over top of it, you can kind of see is our proposed dock, and it goes out to the end. It's just a little bit further out, and the reason why we have it a little further out is, being a permanent dock, we also know, being on Lake Huron for many years and talking to many neighbors and kind of reviewing water levels for the last 30 years, the water goes up and down, and sand moves in and out and creates sandbars, etc. So having that area so that we can safely use our boat and navigate our lift every year without interruptions is kind of how we determined where all that layout is. And you can see that dotted line on the bottom kind of shows an imaginary line of our neighbors that are just to the south of us. And our dock is approximately 29 feet to the center of it from that property line. And then it's approximately 46 feet to the other, from the center of our dock to the northern property line, which is where the public easement area is. And so I guess that kind of gives you an overall as far as the layout goes. If you go to the next slide, Ryan, it's kind of a similar thing. This is just kind of a overlaid on a kind of a Google image showing, you can kind of a little bit see the neighboring properties in this picture. But anyways, I think really those are some of the real main points about it. We're super excited about it. I think you know, we've always been, everyone who knows us in Pinewood, I think will agree that we are, you know, we try to be thoughtful neighbors and create a place that where we would want to be, and where our neighbors and so forth would want to be and join in some of the fun that we have, etc. It's been nothing but a great experience. And so I appreciate everybody again joining to kind of learn more about this proposed dock. And I'm just gonna, Ryan, if it's okay, I know it's been about 10 minutes, so if I could turn it over to Andrew in case he has any items to add, then we'll just go from there. So this is Andrew Minnock. He's our contractor that would be building the dock.
Good evening, everybody. Like Craig said, I'm the owner of On Point Contracting. Craig touched on pretty much everything. One of the biggest things that Craig came to us with was the consideration for the neighborhood, knowing that the easement is directly north of his property, and then another one about 400 feet south, 5 houses down. He wanted to make sure that everybody was given full access, no restrictions, no hindrance. We wanted to build something that was, you know, quite robust to the conditions, but also aesthetically pleasing and not an obnoxious eyesore. You know, he wants to make sure that kayakers can go underneath the dock. Anybody that wants to launch dock equipment on the easements can get through without any issues. That's why we're going with the pile spacing that we are. Craig also is going to be lighting the dock. So if anybody wants to beach walk or go out at night, they're not going to have to worry about any unforeseen obstacles, smacking their head, running into anything, and actually will be able to enjoy, you know, night swims with without being blind. The system's going to be designed to take the absolute most abuse, but still look good. It'd be a nice composite decking, clean, sleek, and probably a more attractive look than what he has currently for a seasonal dock. Outside of that, he just wants everybody to enjoy the space. That's really all I have.
All right. Yeah, thank you both for providing that information and presentation. We are going to move on to right into the question and answer session. So if you do have a question on the project and application or EGLE's process of it, you can submit your question using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Type your question in that box, or you can click the raise hand icon, which you see at the bottom of your screen. Just click on that. That'll raise your hand in Zoom. If you're on the phone, it looks like we do have a couple phone-in callers. You can select #2, and what that'll do is raise your hand in Zoom, and I'll call on you using the last 4 digits of your phone number. So with any questions we have, I'll kind of go back and forth between the Q&A box and the raise hand icon. And then once we're through with questions, we'll go on to the next part of the evening. All right, so have one that came in. What will be the clearance at the seawall from the beach?
So the clearance at the beach was 6 foot 6 inches.
The underside
to the underside of the dock, and then the clearance between our seawall and the first set of pilings is approximately 24 feet.
24 feet, okay. All right, thank you. All right, looks like we do have a raised hand. Looks like phoning caller 6047. Looks like you're
That would be
unmuted.
me. My name is Barry Pullum. I live across the street on Northeast Drive, and I've grown up in Michigan from day one, born in Detroit, and been on every Great Lake and all sorts of inland and water ways of various sorts, and never considered building a pier, which is the correct terminology for a fixed structure.
Sir, do you have a question, or did you want to make a statement? Because we're asked, if you have a question,
I already made my statement, but my question is, why is it necessary to be so big in a residential area?
All right, thanks for that question.
It's huge. I've put docks in and out all the time, and that's immense.
All right, we'll give our panelists an opportunity to answer that question, and then you'll have an opportunity to make a statement a little bit later on if you wish to do so. So thank you for that question. All right.
So Ryan, did you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so appreciate the question. And yeah, I think I talked a little bit about the design consideration and whether we call it a dock or a pier. I'm good with both of them. And ultimately, the width of the dock is super important for all of the abilities. I want this dock to be there when if I love fishing and I love bringing chairs out at the end of my dock, and someday I might be out there sitting in a wheelchair. Hopefully not, but I might be. And if I do, I want to be able to roll out there and go fishing off my dock that I built and have others join me at the same time. And so the width of it was for those reasons, and the area for the platform at the end is just it's pretty much the same size. I've made my platform. Our seasonal dock we've had every year has ranged between 150 to 160 feet, and we've made our platform anywhere from 16 to 20 feet at the end of our dock every year, and it just works really well for our family. So that's really kind of like why we designed it. And
the other design consideration too is planning for the worst case scenario, like Craig touched at the beginning. You know, we know the water levels fluctuate, so we want to take into consideration, you know, low water situations based on the vessels that he currently has. So we're trying to make sure that there's no, you know, changes that we have to make down the road. It's a one and done, and it's still a clean looking finish. We're really only going out about 20 or so feet longer than what his seasonal dock is. It's just going to be a little bit wider and a slightly smaller platform than what he has with his seasonal dock.
All right. Yeah, thank you both for that answer and for asking that question. I'm going to unmute one more raised hand, and then I had some more in the question and answer box that popped up. So we'll go to that. So Timothy Haynes. Timothy, we're going to unmute you. Feel free to ask your question.
So we, like Craig, have been in this neighborhood for over 20 years at this point, have a family that enjoys the water. I've lived through all of the ups and down cycles that have happened in that 20 years, and I've never had to put more than 70 feet of dock out. So I'll start with that statement and reiterate the question that the previous person asked, is why does it really need to be that long? Because even with the seasonal ups and downs of the water here, you don't need a dock to go out that far. It's going to be an eyesore.
All right,
and so then maybe my next question, since you seem to be really blocking interactive conversation, is there a defined legal process to block this project?
All right. Thanks for your question. Can anybody on our panel answer that one?
Sure. Hey, Timothy, I'm not sure if we met, but I appreciate the question, and so talking about the dock and the length of it, like I said, I've had my dock at 150 feet, and many of you know that we actually owned a house about a half a mile down by right by I think it's called lane A, by kind of 2 doors down from an easement that's half a mile south down the shore. We've always there was actually only in the year of 2020, when we had the super high water level, we actually put our dock in a little bit. It was about 120 feet. But my boat, you can see it there in the picture that was there. Between the boat hoist, the parts in the boat hoist and the mechanisms on the bottom, I needed that distance. And where the stairs have been at, we've been at knee depth in terms of water. And so that length has been very important to us being able to use it. So I guess that's kind of what we found over the years. And like I said, we've been here since 2012, and it's gone back and forth. And obviously, if we were in 2020, the water was at everybody's seawall. And so in this case right now, and today, for example, I think, the water's down a little bit lower than it was in the fall currently. And so at the end of our dock there at 170 feet is a little bit over 5 feet. And 170 feet is 8 feet onto our shore, 8 feet on, over our seawall. And then it goes over the beach area and then out into the water. And so anyways, that's just what we've found that has really worked well for us over all the years. And so knowing it's permanent, we try to plan for all those aspects of it.
The other side to it too is the water draft that these boats, can require. Craig has a pretty large family, and when you get some of the elderly out there, they do have some handicapped family members. Access to the vessel and the type of vessel that he has, it needs to be in at least 3.5 to 4 foot of water, and when water levels are really low, that's why we're trying to achieve that distance out.
Okay, yeah, thank you for those answers. The other part of the question was if there was a way to block the project. I'm going to combine that with a couple that are in the chat because I want to make sure we get to as many questions as we can. And that's kind of why we need to make sure we're sticking to questions. What's the process following the public hearing is one. And then I've got another question related to that. What is the process following the public hearing? Is the EGLE the final step of approval? My understanding is that the Army Corps of Engineers has to approve any structure that is constructed in the Great Lakes. Is that true? So I think I threw a lot out at you, but anything, Nicole, that you'd be able to talk about as far as what EGLE's process is, if it's a final step of approval, and the Army Corps?
Correct. So this permit would need to be approved by both EGLE and the Army Corps of Engineers. At this time, we have not made a decision yet. Everything is still under review.
Okay. Any specifics on what the process is after this, after the hearing tonight? For EGLE's process, I guess?
So after this meeting today ends, there is a 10-day period, an open window where anyone can submit additional comments. After that is over, we can further discuss with the applicants if there are any modifications to be made, and also look at either approval or denial. And then we also have to wait to hear from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. At some point, sometimes we can issue or not issue a permit without hearing from the Corps, but the Corps would also have to approve or deny the project.
All right, thanks, Nicole. And I'm going to go through these as quickly as I can to make sure we can get to as many as we can with the time we have. There will be 2 boat lifts. Would they be obstructing the pass through the kayaks, but pass through by kayaks and walkers? There will be 2 boat lifts. Would they be obstructing the pass through by kayaks and walkers?
So a couple of things. I wouldn't recommend anybody to walk under or float underneath any boat lifts anywhere, whether they're temporary or permanent or otherwise. There's ample room all the way around the boat lifts to traverse with kayaks, floats, walking, whatever. But walking underneath or traversing underneath any sort of lift whatsoever would be non-recommended. If you said physically, can you go underneath it? Yes, you could physically go underneath it, but would you? Not a good plan.
Yeah,
is it-
there's plenty of dock for kayakers and everybody to go underneath. That's why another reason why the dock is being proposed as long as it is, to keep the vessels as far out and away from the shoreline as possible.
all right, will this dock be used to keyhole other boats, or will it just be two boats?
Technically, it's 2 jet skis and a V-Haul center console
All
or
right.
cutting.
Can a wheelchair be used on your current dock?
On my 4-foot dock, no, well, I think, for anything to be ADA accessible, it needs to have a 60-inch turning radius, and so on our current dock, no.
How will you maintain the 6-foot clearance at the beach with changing beach conditions?
We're designing this pier to where the pilings and the dock frame are adjustable to some degree. We're giving it a 12-inch adjustment vertical from its, from a median position.
All right. How large a boat is being planned to be stationed there in the neighborhood?
So my current boat that I have is a Sailfish 245 DC. It's a, basically a 25-foot dual console boat. I've had it on the water there and have gone up and down the beaches since I've had that boat since 2019. And so that's what I have currently. But you never know, we might have a larger one at a different time. I don't really know for sure currently, but I want to make sure that I'm planning accordingly.
It won't be much larger than what is there now, based on the boat lift size that we're putting in.
And then kind of a follow-up question on the boat. What if you know what the draft is of the boat? I guess existing boat.
3 foot currently.
All right. Is there going to be a certified inspections done on a yearly basis? I don't know what that's based on, if that's.
Annually, Craig and I plan to revisit the condition of the dock. We're going to make sure that there's an inspection program in place where we come out and take a look and make sure everything is withholding to the conditions and that there's not going to be any issues. Craig, just like the neighbors, wants to make sure this is in top-notch shape all the time and it's not an eyesore. He doesn't want that, and we're anticipating this to be a lot cleaner of a look. You won't have all those vertical poles sticking up above the surface of the dock, like he currently does with his seasonal dock.
All right, thank you. We're actually past the time we wanted to go. We're planning to move on at 6:30, but I want to ask a few more of these questions before we move on. We're not going to be able to get to all of these, but I will provide Nicole's contact information if you have additional questions after the Q&A session and after the hearing tonight. Will the dock be insured?
Yes, our property is all insured and will be insured.
All right. What type of lighting will be used on the dock, and will it interrupt the harmony of the surrounding environment?
So traditionally, we've had lighting on the underneath side of our dock, not on the surface of the dock, and it glowed down to the water. Many of our neighbors know it and have seen it, and I've actually never had any negative comments shared with me, mostly all just positive comments. But that was basically it. It attracted the fishing, so the kids like that's for sure. But
we're not planning on making it a landing strip by any means. It's still going to hold a dim elegance to it, so it's not again, like a landing strip.
All right. This is going to be the last question. I think it's a good one to be answered. Where to go? Okay, is this going to set a precedent for other docks to be put up along the shoreline? So this might be a question for Nicole, Randy, as far as the permitting process goes. I don't know anything you can say related to that.
The answer is yes and no. We do review projects based on what is in the surrounding site, but that is not something that is specifically laid out in Part 325.
All right, thanks, Nicole. Thank you all for asking those questions. There's still several in there, but we have to move on tonight, and for our panelists for asking those. Yeah, sorry if we weren't able to get to them, and if we had to, keep the questions short. But you will have an opportunity to make a statement for the record on this project. Everyone had that opportunity, and that'll be coming up. But before we do that, I want to let you know there are other ways to submit an official comment in case you didn't want to make a statement tonight, or perhaps you already have submitted an official comment, but you can do it through EGLE's MyEnviro database. You can provide those through submission HQ6-M49G-Y9C27. We're going to be putting the link in the chat. You can also submit your comments by mail to EGLE, E-G-L-E, and that's at the Bay City office, 401 Ketchum Street, and that's spelled Ketchum Street, Suite B, Bay City, Michigan, 48708. And the comment period after the public hearing will be open for 10 days, which will be March 1st. All right, so we're going to move into the hearing part for tonight. So I would like to invite Nicole to read our opening statement to kick off the hearing.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Nicole King. I'm the district representative in the Water Resources Division of the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. I will be serving as the hearing officer for this public hearing on EGLE submission HQ6M49G-Y9C27. With me tonight is Randy Evilsizer, who is also with EGLE Water Resources Division out of the Bay City office. To describe how this will work tonight, I will begin with some background information about why we are here tonight. I will then describe the purpose of the hearing and how your comments will be used. Following that, I will outline the procedures under which we will take your comments and then describe what will happen after tonight's hearing. I will then give you time for you to provide your comments, and we will spend the majority of the time tonight listening to those comments. At the end of the hearing, I will read a closing statement. By way of background information, the Water Resources Division is responsible for administering a variety of programs that help protect inland lake, streams, wetlands, floodplains, sand dunes, and the Great Lakes. These programs regulate certain activities such as dredging or filling of a lake, stream, or wetland, constructing a dam, constructing a marina, placing shoreline protection, or the construction of docks, and building in designated critical sand dune areas, wetlands, or floodplains. The law governing these responsibilities is the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act of 1994, PA 451 as amended, also referred to as Act 451. We are here tonight because the applicant, Craig Sheffer, has proposed the following: the installation of a 170-foot-long open pile dock with 142 feet of that dock extending past the ordinary high water mark, as well as the addition of 2 boat hoists. One boat hoist is proposed at 12 feet by 12.5 feet, and the other at 12.5 feet by 14 feet. The proposed project is located on Lake Huron at the address 2590 Northeast Drive, Tawa City, in Whitney Township in Arenac County, Michigan. So in order for a permit to be granted, EGLE must find that the proposed activities described in the public notice meet certain criteria set by Part 325, Great Lakes Submerged Lands of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act of 1994, PA 451 as amended. In general, we must consider the effect of the proposed project to the lake. When reviewing an application for permit under the provisions of Part 325 under Act 451, EGLE is charged to make the following considerations as required by Part 325(1)(2) of Part 325. 1, the department shall issue a permit if it finds that the structure or project will not adversely affect the public trust or riparian rights And 2, the department shall not grant a permit if the proposed project or structure will unlawfully impair or destroy any of the waters or natural resources of the state. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to give anyone interested in this project an opportunity to provide information that EGLE can use in making the decision whether or not to issue a permit. Please recognize that EGLE can only use the information you provide if it relates to the criteria that EGLE must use in making a decision. Some of you may simply want to express your support or opposition to the project. We will be happy to make note of your position, but please understand that EGLE is, by law, not allowed to base our decision on whether or not there is widespread support or opposition to the project. In a moment, I will outline the procedures which we will use for taking your comments. But before that, I do need to mention that the notice of this public hearing was published in the Iosco News in the February 5th weekly edition and on the EGLE calendar. As we discussed at the beginning of the informational session, if you have a comment to provide, please raise your hand in the Zoom toolbar. To ensure that the hearing is conducted in a fair manner, we will follow these steps. First, the applicant and/or consultant has already had an opportunity to describe their proposed project. Second, we will then call on those who have indicated in their registration that they would like to speak. After that, we will call on those who have raised their hand in the Zoom toolbar that they would like to make a comment if they haven't already been called upon. As a reminder, if you are participating in this hearing via telephone only, please follow the directions of the moderator on how to identify that you would like to make a comment. You can also submit your comments to EGLE via the My Enviro portal, by email, or by US mail. When all of the comments have been completed, we will ask if anyone else would like to make a statement. When your name is called and your microphone will be unmuted. As you begin your comments, please state your name and if you are affiliated with any group or association. Each person will be given 4 minutes to make their comments. We will indicate to you when you have a minute left. Please begin wrapping up your comments and then end within the allotted time. If need be, we will indicate when your time has ended. I ask that we all be courteous and respectful to one another tonight. Please also recognize that EGLE staff is here tonight to provide a fair opportunity for you to express your comments on the proposed impact and how we listen to those comments. How this information will be used. This hearing is being recorded and your comments will be part of the information that EGLE will be using to consider making its decision on whether to issue a permit on the proposed project. The public comment period for this public hearing is open for 10 days from the date of this hearing, ending on March 1st, 2025. Additional information and comments submitted in writing during that 10-day public comment period will also be considered in EGLE's decision. Following the close of the public comment period, EGLE will make a decision to either issue the permit for the project as proposed with modifications or send a letter of denial. You may find out what that decision is by checking the EGLE My Enviro portal website and searching for the application number HQ6M49GY9C27. Thank you for your attention. We will begin calling the names of those who have indicated that they would like to make a statement.
Yeah, thanks for reading that, Nicole. We don't have, we're not taking pre-registration callers tonight, so we're going to go strictly with raised hands. So if you have, or you want to make a comment tonight, you can raise your hand in Zoom. So click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're on the phone, you can select #2. That will raise your hand in Zoom, and then we will just go in turn with each person and call on you to make your statement. It's going to be one statement per person tonight. If you have more than one person on your line that wants to make a comment, just let me know when you're called upon, and then that person can go next, and they will have 4 minutes as well. They'll just have to mention their name and make their statement. As Nicole mentioned, it'll be 4 minutes. I have a countdown timer. If you're logged in, you'll see the timer count down. from 4 minutes, so you know how much time you have left. You don't have to use the entire 4 minutes if you don't want to. It's up to you. You have a maximum of 4 minutes. And then when you have 1 minute left, you'll hear this sound, which basically indicates you have a minute left, just so you know where you're at. So with that, we're going to go until everybody who wants to make a comment has made a comment. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We have raised hand Billy and Manny Hafafis. Sorry, my apologies. Are you there? You're unmuted on our end. Feel free.
Yes, I just unmuted on our end. It's
okay.
Billy and Manny Papasafakis. I am speaking on behalf of our family. Our home is located south of the 2590 Northeast, where they would like to put the 170-foot dock. We are directly on Lake Huron. I'd like to acknowledge that according to the riparian rights of the state of Michigan in regard to the Great Lakes, as a property owner, we know and acknowledge that the Great Lakes is actually owned by the state. We're not on a smaller inland lake. However, though, as a property owner, we still do have some riparian rights. And those riparian rights, really, if you take a look at the installation of a dock that's at this unreasonable length, could truly interfere with the limit the navigability of Lake Huron in our area and the rights of the rest of the neighboring property owners. A dock of this size really is basically non-conforming with the various property owners on Northeast Drive, in which the docks pretty much do not exceed 70 feet. As the owner had mentioned, Craig, we also as property owners like to swim, kayak, paddleboard, aqua jog, and we do so parallel to the shore of Lake Huron because it is the safest place to actually do that, being on a Great Lake. A dock that exceeds such length would require a property owner to really navigate around that 170-foot dock, which is close to the range of that 200-foot limit from shore up to which the wave runners use that lake. And I know that Craig has mentioned that his dock would be high enough for us to potentially kayak under his dock. However, if he has two very large 30-foot boats and hoists, I'm not so sure that that is true. This is really a safety issue for all of the families that live in Pinewood Sub that have children that actually use that lake to swim and kayak and paddleboard and so forth. We also feel this would be a potential boat safety hazard for other boat owners, really in regard to the visibility at night, navigating their boat in as to whether there is lights or not. This application for a permit of a dock this size and scope interferes with the reasonable use of the lake and really basically violates the common law of the riparian rights of the property owners of Pinewood Sub on Lake Huron. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, next up is Bob Stebbins. Bob, you are unmuted on our end and can unmute yourself and begin when you're ready.
Hi, I've been at we live at just 3 doors down from this particular proposed project, and the idea of, I mean, currently the owner has stated that they've had a transitory dock or a temporary dock put in to nearly this length. Honestly, the dock, I know you haven't heard any objections to it, but I think you pushed the goodwill of your neighbors far enough. And the idea of putting in a dock longer than the Brown's Landing is beyond what you should expect from your neighbors. You're actually asking to put in a commercial sized dock in a residential area, and I think it will greatly diminish the use of that entire area for all your neighbors. The property values will be affected because the use of the waterfront will be affected. All these things will be I mean, the idea of you having lights out there is quite frankly, okay, I don't object to it immensely, but honestly, I would also consider that light pollution. Part of what we're enjoying is seeing the bald eagles, seeing the beauty of the water. All that is natural, and what you would be putting in would obstruct that. And I think that you've looked at this project from a purely selfish standpoint. And I think that your neighbors will be negatively impacted severely by this project. That's all I have.
All right, thanks for your comment, Bob. All right. All right, next up is Jason Harrison, and then after Jason, it's going to be Kimberly Anderson. So Jason, you are unmuted on our end.
Hi, this is Jason Harrison. I'm the direct neighbor of Craig's family. So we're just to the south of his property, and we're greatly opposed to him placing this permanent dock, mostly for the reasons that other people have already spoken about, but specifically a couple of things that we would like to talk about. One being the navigability of the water between the easement, where we would typically launch our boat lift or jet ski lift, and potentially anything in the future that we may need to bring from the easement over to our property to place in the water. So, so for instance, last year, he did put up his temporary dock, and we had to actually go around the end of his dock to be able to move our lift from the easement to our water in front of our property. And I was up to my neck at that time in the water and was barely able to do that. So for this dock to be longer, it would completely eliminate that possibility of us putting anything in there of that size. So we don't have room on either side of our house to be able to move something large like that alongside of our house and then launch it off of our dock. So it would make it impossible for us to do that. And going between the pilings, it may be wide enough, but it's probably not tall enough to be able to fit that lift underneath. So it will affect, that from, permanently for us. The other thing is, and the other person mentioned the safety of our children, especially. So yes, they may be able to use a kayak or a paddleboard and go underneath the dock. It's questionable whether they could use a paddleboard to do that because of the height of the dock. But it's a lot to ask them to be comfortable with doing that, especially when Craig's family is all there. They want to be respectful of his family and don't want to infringe on, everything that they've got going on. So they would more likely go around the end of the dock. That would put them very near to the boat traffic and the jet ski traffic that frequents the area. So that puts them in harm's way to be able to do that. We do have a jet ski. My older son rides that, and he would have to maintain 100-foot distance from the dock, especially if he's going anything above idle. And that again puts him out into the boat traffic areas. And lastly, I would just say that it really creates an eyesore on the shore of Lake Huron. We live here because we enjoy the natural beauty of the lakeshore, and to have that dock permanently there, it changes the landscape for us. It really is, it's kind of a sad change to what we see as the natural beauty of this area. And especially, I really am upset about hearing about the lighting of the dock. The lighting that was on the temporary dock was bad enough, but this would be even worse. It really just shines into our windows.
You're at time, Jason. All right, and I just want to mention again, if you are on the phone and listening in by phone and you'd like to make a comment or have your hand raised, just select #2 on your receiver, and what that will do is raise your hand so that we can call on you. All right, next up, Kimberly Anderson. And then after Kimberly is Angela Zotos. So Kimberly, it looks like you are unmuted on our end. You just have to click the microphone icon to unmute yourself, and then you'll be able to make your statement. Are you there, Kimberly?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm 3 doors north of this proposed dock. 3 things. Number one, it was a misnomer with what he said about contacting all the neighbors. He contacted one neighbor. Number 2, to contact the neighbors, he had to use the information on the easement. The easement is deeded to every neighbor in the subdivision. Number 3, we do not use the Iosco News, we use the Arenac Independent. Number 4, we all have the right to use the easement, and the easement is deeded to everybody else. All the people in the subdivision use the water's edge for walking, for power walking, and the beach for walking all the grandkids. What we have right now, it's going to be a disaster. And if Kathy and Manny basically took care of everything I wanted to talk about. Thank you, guys. I'm going to relinquish to another one of the 17 people that are here in the hall to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Next up.
Hi, my name is Joe. Myself and my wife Kathy have owned the property at 2522 Northeast Residence. It's just south of the proposed structure. We've been residents there for 35 plus years. We've enjoyed numerous walks, along the beach and been able to enjoy it. I know they said it's going to be a 6 foot to walk under, but we've had 100 foot of beach there in volleyball net set up along the shore at low water. We're going to be walking around this thing different times of the year, so it's not going to be, it's going to impede walking. And really, this is only to satisfy one resident, not the community. The other thing I wanted to reference is, review of the drawing is really the long-term sustainability of this project. I sent some pictures on my comments, which showed about 100 ice. It was about 150 feet offshore. It comes there almost every year or two. It's 10 to 15 foot high, which means there's probably another 5 or 10 feet, but under the water. When that comes ashore from northeasters, that really causes damage. We've seen seawalls just, pushed over. We've seen our first property when we bought it, we ended up having to repair the seawall from ice damage. We've seen numerous other neighbors have had seawall damage from ice. So I don't see that, how this is going to sustain itself in the long run. The middle of the drawings that were done were not stamped or approved by any type of a licensed engineer or an architectural engineering firm. And it looks like the drawings that I saw were a company from Florida that were attached. I don't think they're really that familiar with ice conditions on the Great Lakes. That's a concern we have. And the reason I have this concern is our neighbor just next to us had his seawall damaged. It was many years ago when the water was high. It basically washed out all the backfill, left a dangerous hole in his yard, which is right adjacent to us. And basically that's all full of metal and debris. And I don't want this situation down the beach for our grandkids to deal with. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dennis Woody. I live at 616 Northeast Drive. I'm next door. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Good.
Yep, you
Well,
can,
the
can begin.
installation is safe. I am not convinced the engineering of the proposed permanent dock is safe. The height above the water level does not take into account the high ice level typically experienced along Lake Huron shoreline. This is a primary reason why numerous homeowners install seasonal docks, those which can be removed in the fall. Ice can and does cause tremendous damage to a dock left in the water. Pieces of damaged dock do present safety hazards to boating and recreational activities such as wading and swimming. Why is a permanent dock necessary? Per the application of approval for installation, generally, it indicates the justification is to prevent having to install and remove his dock every year, and to facilitate the ability of a family member with their accessibility in and out of his new boat. This reasoning seems to be for personal convenience. However, if approved, it unnecessarily creates a barrier and restricts the public's access to use all Lake Huron has to offer. As with reference to the family member, I'm still not clear as to why it explains how a permanent dock is better than a seasonal dock. And I question, depending upon the number of times the person would need to use the dock, justifies the requirement to having a permanent dock. Not everyone, as been mentioned, was notified. There's people that would like to participate, but for various reasons, we're not able to participate this evening. But I know at least two that do not support the proposal because they communicated that to me via email. What requirements are there for maintenance and or security, which will be in place throughout the year? The homeowner appears to use the residence as a seasonal cottage. Residence appears to be unsupervised for periods of time throughout the year. Will the dock be insured? There is the potential of watercraft running into the dock, especially at night, and there's the potential for unauthorized use when the homeowner is away. So who's going to supervise the use or non-use of the dock? Will it be insured if there is an accident, if a boat runs into it, if someone goes on the dock and falls off and gets harmed? That needs to be taken into consideration before a permanent dock is approved. So the bottom line is it reasonable? Is it safe? Is a permanent structure really necessary, or is this just a request for one individual? That's all I have. Who else? Anybody else have questions?
And thanks for your comment. Is there anyone else there that would like to make a comment who hasn't yet?
My name is Sharon Zimmerman. My name is Sharon Zimmerman, and I would like to reiterate something that Craig said about notifying or talking to all the neighbors. He did not. He talked to one person, and that was Brittany Harrison. No other people. He didn't talk to any other people. So if this dock is allowed to be built from seawall to 170 feet, this will stop the water activities we have enjoyed in the area, such as water walking, etc. Under the public trust domain, the rights of the public are exclusive and legally superior to private shore owners, provided the public use remains below the high water mark and does not interfere with the private landowners' riparian rights for mooring and docking boats, navigation, and reasonable use of the water in connection with the upland. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anybody else on this line who would like to make a comment?
We got more. We have more.
My name is John Edwards. I live at 2564 Northeast Drive, which is about 4 lots south of the applicant. I cannot understand why I've been in there, that subdivision, over 20 years, going on 25 years. Plus, I've been up there in the area all my life. There's nobody else trying to put in a permanent dock because it is not reasonable in this area. I don't care how well it's built. You never know what Mother Nature is going to do from one year to the next. We've seen 3-4 feet of ice get broke up and come into a shore. So who is going to go and authorize this to be built? I'd like to know, is your department the only department that is going to have any say-so in this dock being built? Are you people solely responsible for saying yes or no? I can't, way government is, I would think there would be other departments that would be involved in this situation. Secondly, I think that the safety factor is a big thing that everybody's concerned about. There's not a single person here that is in favor of this situation. I think it's just basically being presented for a personal use. And this gentleman has last year put out 150-foot dock, and his whole family was able to use it. They swam around it, they ran on it, they had all kinds of good times. And I can't see why, and they put it up within 2 days and they took it down within 2 days. Now, if he has this much money to spend on a permanent dock, I mean, I don't understand why he just can't have this temporary dock put up and taken down every year. This, like everyone else has done along the shoreline, like I say, for the past 100 years. So I just would like to say that as far as I'm concerned, I'm totally against having to look at his 170-foot permanent dock out there. And on top of that, there's no guarantees on how many boats is he going to hook up to this dock. He says he's got 2 permanent hoists, but how many more hoists could he put out there? Are you going to put a regulation on that? He could have as many as 10, 15 boats moored out there. I don't want to see a marina 4 doors away from me. It's totally not applicable to this area at all. And I also believe if this was trying to be done over on the other side of the state, say maybe around Traverse City or somewhere in that area, that this might have a hell of a lot more opposition and be scrutinized a lot more than what it is being done. That's all I have.
Somebody else?
Thank you for your comment.
My name is Mitch Hall, 2555 Northeast Highwood. I just want to make a small statement, and I'm totally against this dock because of the scenery. When me and my wife came 4 years ago, we scouted this place. It's a beautiful place. And I don't want to go down to the easement and look at this ridiculous 170-foot dock where I can't see the beautiful scenery. Not only that, the liability, who's going to get hurt, falling off, jet skis run into it. So much things can go wrong. I'm gonna be short, but that's my feelings about it. Anybody's next?
I think there's a couple other people.
We got about 4 or 5 over. Yeah, my name's Ron Itzier. I live probably 10 homes down from where this dock's gonna be built. And in the summer, I saw that lengthy dock, which thank God it was temporary, and I knew it was gonna be removed come winter, which is being proposed. is not going to be removed. And I'll have to see this dock the whole year round, year after year, until it gets destroyed by the weather, by the ice, by the Lake Huron gale winds. There was reference to docks being permanent down the beach. Yes, they were put in before our subdivision was even built. They're grandfathered in with permits. Down, further down is Alabaster with a dock. That is grandfathered in. Those docks are hundreds of years old. This dock is new, and there's a reason no docks are in that area, because it's all residential. Nobody wants it. All the scenery is going to be impaired. Our quality of life is going to be distorted by this dock. We don't want it. Thank you.
2580 Northeast Drive. I've been coming to this area since 1972. I'd like to add that this dock will be an obstruction to our clear view. Also, a dock of this size restricts the navigation of open waterway. In regards to paddleboarding, water walking, kayaking, jet skiing, water skiing, tubing, etc. It limits the use of the access site, and also everyone who has ownership of that site needed to be notified, and they were not. And that's all I have.
Yeah. We got another one.
Oh, my address is 2656 Northeast Drive, Tennessee. I've lived off and on there in my neighborhood for 30 years. There was reference to Brown's Landing, as my neighbor, my brother next door stated. That's been grandfathered in. And we've talked about the ice. As we all know in the hall here, Brown's Landing a few years back got inundated with ice. That dock is built with iron beams. It was ripped apart with ice. Obviously, the new dock that this neighbor wants to propose in will have the same issue. And I don't think a 100-year-old, or I think Brown's Landing is probably built in the 1950s, had stronger material used than the current material that he wants to use. But I don't think that his dock will hold up to the Great Lakes weather. And the second issue is, if it does get all ripped apart, who's going to clean up the mess? Who's going to take his pylons out of there? Or is he going to rebuild it all over again? And then if he doesn't rebuild it, who's going to take the pylons out of it? So other people, like when they come in with the boats after it gets ripped apart, getting their lower units all ripped apart, or God forbid, somebody gets impelled by one of the posts. So all of those things should be considered before this going further. And again, I want to stress my total negative to this dock. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, my name is George Brown. My great-grandparents owned all this property. And I am from Brown's Landing, okay? And there's no way they would have had a dock like that hold up anyplace else except where they built it. And they had worked on it every year to keep it going. I have seen so many ice things happen on Saginaw Bay and the Great Lakes area, okay, Huron Lake. I lived in Bay City, Midland, all my life until I finally moved up here when I came back home. So what you people are proposing is completely an idiot who would only consider such a thing, okay? I have worked on everything, and I have worked on pulling people's boats out that got pushed through from the waves and whatever. It just tears everything up. So I don't know what this guy is thinking, that he can just go ahead and put it on a dock. And what will happen when he leaves? It will never be taken care of, because people have never taken and followed up and made anybody pay for anything they destroyed. I've seen it on so many lakes I've lived on in the whole state. So it's about time you stand up and take something. And if you really want to come and talk to people, doing it not face to face is never a way to run a business, okay? Even when you go to Congress stuff, you have to stand up in front of people. You're hiding behind a dang machine here. You make me mad. I'm an old vet, and I want to be heard, and I want to be heard loud. If you don't listen to me, I will be coming down to see you personally. I don't know why you can't drive up here personally. This is a very important thing for all these people here. And a lot of them aren't here because they are snowbirds. We're getting old, but we're not going to give up. We will come down and we will see you face to face if need be. And I will give you everything that happens bad going on because I will be watching every freaking day. And I will have everybody else helping me. And so if this does go through, all I can tell you is watch out. My name is George Brown, and don't forget it. Anybody else?
Hello, my
Well,
name
is
is
it-
Sue Brown. George is my brother. And yes, he has been very upset over all this. And yes, I understand the family dock, but that dock was built before 1947. Our family was the fishing industry of Michigan when there were a lot of fish in the Great Lakes. We'd like to see things repaired, but we don't need to have this new dock. We don't need to have the landscape ruined. People like to walk the shoreline. We walk the shoreline from here to the singing bridge that doesn't sing anymore, but we still like the area. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Heckman, and I live at 2489 West Drive. I'm not on lakefront, but I do use the lake often. I'm here to support the people who live on the lake that would have to be looking at the atrocity of 170-foot dock. Just don't understand it. And that's about all I have to say.
My name is Kim Hall and I live at 2555 Northeast Drive. And my family uses the easement over there all the time. And with that dock being that close to the easement, it's going to create problems. There's just not going to be enough room. We all own that easement. So I just totally disagree with you putting in a permanent dock. And you said in your comments that Brown's Landing is a commercial dock. Well, the dock that you're proposing is going to be bigger than that one. So why isn't yours a commercial dock? That's all I got to say.
My name's Brian Meldrum. I live at 2580 Northeast Drive. I think that all of us are understanding of the size of your family, and we all have talked many times about all of the children that are running around and all the activity. And we all agree that it's just a wonderful thing for you to be able to do because most of us don't have families that size. However, I don't understand how a dock of this magnitude would make your personal experience any better. What I do know is that we all try to respect everybody's property, even if it's, a temporary dock. You will notice that people keep their distance from the docks, don't want to get near the boats. And if yours is a permanent dock, you're going 170 feet, you're effectively, creating just a private beach resort for you and your family. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not fair, but it's really not fair to the neighbors. And then I guess to top it all off for me is that I didn't realize that you're not a full-time resident there even. So while you're there enjoying it all summer long, we get to look at it 12 months out of the year. So again, Craig, we appreciate you. We appreciate your family. We just don't think that it's appropriate for a structure of that size to be imposed upon all of us. That's it for me. Thank you.
So, yeah, the Kimberly Anderson entourage is done speaking. Are you still there?
Hello?
Yeah.
Do we have anyone else on? I can't hear you.
Done speaking, and
Oh, you're done speaking? All right. Well,
everybody said their thing.
well, thank you all for your comments. Right. All right, we're going to go back to the raised hands. And again, if you haven't made a comment yet and you're on the phone, you can select #2, or you can raise your hand in Zoom at the bottom of your screen. Next one, I have up a couple phone-in callers. One is a 6047. That'll be up first. And then after that one, phone-in caller 1853. Are you there, 6047?
I am, thank you. This is Barry Pullum again. I spoke briefly about my loving the Michigan waterways and not wanting to see a permanent fixture built on next to the easement I use frequently. And I just don't feel, when I look down the shoreline after all the docks are out, everything's pristine. I have another small cottage up by Alabaster, right next to Alabaster Road, and there's the ugly dock that's been spoke of there, permanent structure. And the Browns Landing is, you know, it is what it is. It was a resort built for a reason and for servicing fishermen and whatever, but there's no need of another permanent structure. I don't agree that this is necessary. I guess that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Yep, thank you for your comment. All right, next up, phone in caller, last 4 digits 1853, and then after that, Angela Zotos. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am. Hi, I'm Brittany Harrison. I live at 2586 Northeast Drive. I'm directly south of Mr. Sheffer, and our properties connect. Much like Mr. Sheffer said, our family loves and enjoys the lake as well. And we are very excited to have more kids and more family in our neighborhood. So it was a great surprise to have a family move in next to ours that enjoys the lake as we do. That being said, I believe that this dock or pier is directly impacting not only our family, but our property values, etc. So I'm very opposed, but I want to list out a couple things. I think the dock is excessive in size and very intrusive. There is no other private dock in a 20-mile radius of this size. So it's not only unreasonable, it's unprecedented. I strongly believe that once you bring a dock in like this, it opens up the precedence for anybody to do a dock like that. Legally, there would be a challenge if anyone tried to turn this dock down. My bigger concern is this just happened on Bay Road, is a dock was built there about 50 years ago. The house was sold. The dock got left to just deteriorate. The new owner wanted to take the dock down, but was denied taking this very horribly run down, deteriorating dock that was falling apart because it would change the way the sand had changed for the environment. So they now can't even take a dock down that was deteriorating because of environmental factors. So once this dock goes in, it's a permanent change to our environment forever. I know that we say we can take things down. I know you say you can reverse it, but there's a case study right in East Tawas that did not go that way. And so that owner had to look at this deteriorating dock until it finally fell in the water and was gone. It took 15 years. So I'm very opposed to the long-term effect that this dock is going to have. It's not a reasonable request to have something that's 6 feet wide, 170 feet long. There's no private people in our area that has something like that. Brown's Landing is listed under fisheries and commercial, not under private. They're not comparable docks. You can't compare your dock to a marina, and we can't compare our private situations to commercial property as well. The dock placement is, I know my husband already talked about the disruption to our ability to walk around the dock. I know you say we can go under. but there really was no design shown to us showing that the two lifts would impede our ability to go under the dock in any area of the dock. So it was a little disruptive to see this pier without the replica of the two lifts underneath it. So it does impede our ability. I know my husband talked about the risk in forcing our kids to go out deeper to do paddle boarding. I know that it's our job to keep them safe, but this makes it a little bit harder for us to see them. It pushes them further into the deeper, a little bit more rough water than the shallower water. It's something that we've enjoyed for 7.5 years that we've lived here. It's a precedent. I'm sure anybody that lives in the lake has seen my kids in the water probably more than any of us. And it changes their ability and their traditions on how to do it. Just like Craig, we uprooted our whole family to move here. We don't have any other house. This is our house and it's our life savings. So we've invested everything into living on the lake so that our kids could be raised here. The other point I want to make is I have talked to 3 attorneys. I will email you their information.
Sorry, Miss, your time is up tonight, but I will show the other ways to make a comment if you'd like to continue your comments on. Thank you for your comment.
I would. Thank you.
All right, next up is Angela Zotos, and then after Angela, Laura Neal. So Angela, you're unmuted on our end.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You can begin when you're
Okay,
ready.
great. Thank you so much. So I agree with what has been stated by the other residents. We're at 2646 Northeast Drive, just north of the property. As it relates to Brown's Landing, you know, people are not walking north of there because the beach is not cleared there. So there's no sandy beach to walk beyond there. So it's a very clear path to walk from Brown's Landing south. Secondly, I guess what I would like us to recognize is that while Craig speaks of lighting it, and I think that's a noble thing to do, I think what we have to take into consideration is that the reason they're lighting it is because it's a safety hazard. And putting lights are a necessity. If you think about it, having a dock 170 feet out, clearly far beyond any other temporary dock is out in the water, that if somebody is out taking a night cruise, and people have lights on their boats, this would be a safety hazard because of the size and the magnitude of the dock. Additionally, I guess the other comment I would like to make is that we're talking about putting a yacht-sized boat out here. A yacht is typically considered a boat to be vessel north of 24 feet. Those boats are housed in town at a marina. The boats that typically go in and out around us are not of yacht size. These are boats that are taking kids tubing, etc., or water skiing. And I just, as others have mentioned, I believe the safety of the lake there would be at risk. And the only reason it's being lit is because of the size and magnitude and being a safety hazard. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, next up is Laura Neal, and then after Laura is Timothy Haynes. So Laura, you're unmuted on our end. If you want to unmute your microphone on your end, you'll be able to make your statement. You should see a microphone icon where you can unmute yourself. Are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Matt Rappaport. I'm speaking on behalf of Laura Neal. She lives at 2575 West Drive. She's lived here since 1983. And she agrees with the sentiments of the statements tonight that she does not want this dock built. She opposes it. We're big kayakers, and we feel like it'll be in the way of kayaking and water activities, and it'll add to the pollution that's already been stated. You know, we want to see the Great Lakes clean, the Mother Nature keep it clean. You know, what happens with all the seagulls and the birds and the animals? Who's going to clean up all the crap and all the dirt that happens with a permanent dock year round? She also had no knowledge of this dock being built. She was surprised to find out only in the last month. She never was told about it, like had been said, that other people had known about it. It's definitely a big safety issue. any possible thing can happen. And it's not a commercial fishing area. This is an area for people, residents, to enjoy. You know, we want to see big boats and big fishing and getting in the way of the enjoyment of the lake on a daily basis. This lake, I believe, is owned by the state, and I think it's for everyone to use. So if that's built, it'll be in the way of people wanting to enjoy the lake in that area and going back and forth, free of traffic and people and pollution and other boats and having to wait and stop their own enjoyment. And she's been here since '83, so no residents should have to sit there and wait for all these boats and things happening. And also big stargazers, you know, we go out there, we try to catch the northern lights, and if there's this big dock with people on it and lights and other things, you know, it gets in the way of wanting to stargaze, wanting to watch the northern lights, wanting to just enjoy the beach and not even night photography and some people, you know, make some content, and it gets in the way of that. And lastly, you know, Laura, we wanted to let you know that, you know, Mother Nature is definitely a thing, and Mother Nature has been wicked this winter. And if this dock is year round, there could be damage. There could be structural damage to the property, the lake, other people's properties. You don't know what could happen. And if for some reason, if any reason Mother Nature should happen to take out this dock and break it, any of the floating wood might find its way to a bonfire near you. So just letting you know if that's the case. Thank you for hearing us. We appreciate it. We oppose this dock 1,000,000%. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for your comment. All right, and then okay, so next up then is Timothy Haynes, and then after Timothy is James Lapierre. And that's my last hand raised at this point. If you have not yet made a comment and would like to do so, please raise your hand in Zoom or select #2 if you're on the phone. You can go ahead, Timothy, when you're ready.
It's actually Sharice Haynes, 2508 Northeast Drive. My husband spoke earlier.
Okay.
I don't want to dwell on what's already been said, but I agree wholeheartedly with the use of the water would be inhibited. And I want to tell a story about a few years ago, 2 houses to the south of us, ice and wave came up so high on the seawall, it took a chunk of the cement and threw it into the boathouse, taking the door completely off, the access door and the bay door, and it was wedged at the very back of the boathouse behind more ice and snow. I do not think this is a structure that we want in our neighborhood, especially since it's my understanding that you cannot rebuild boathouses once they're damaged or you lose them in storms because of the aesthetics. Everyone wants to be able to see the water and enjoy the water. I think that's really it. Besides, I want to point out, Mr. Sheffer, his mother must have a very unique wheelchair, because my father is also in a wheelchair, and I, as a woman, can back him up. I don't need a radius to turn him around. I don't know what his situation is, but he is not a resident. So it is a sad story, but it's really irrelevant to the rest of us. Also, and this may be rumor, and he can address it, but it is my understanding that Mr. Sheffer hosts many company outings at his property, so that on Labor Day, he has at least a dozen RVs and tents, and he has large numbers of people. So I just want to make sure his family that he keeps talking about isn't actually the employees and the parties he throws there. Because if he wants to host a company event, that should be taken out of the subdivision. If I am incorrect on this information, I apologize, but that is my understanding. That's all.
Thank you for your comment. All right, next up is James Lapierre. All right, feel free to unmute yourself, James, and you can begin when you're ready.
Hi, this is Laura Lapierre. We are at 2650 Northeast Drive. It has been in our family for over 60 years. I agree with a lot of the comments that everybody here said. We completely are against this. We also enjoy taking walks. We enjoy the view. This is a public space that all of us residents enjoy. We are also only up there, you know, weekends and summertime, but this is a private structure that they're talking about building. It will be only for their enjoyment as opposed to the neighborhoods and public enjoyment. And as other people have mentioned, what happens when they move? What happens when this structure is left behind? We do put our boat and our hoist and our dock in and out every year, painstakingly, labor intensive. And if we pay to have it done, very expensive. So I get wanting to make it permanent, but that isn't the natural surroundings. It's not bringing it back to nature, as again, many people have said. There's a state dock, there's marina. If such a large dock and vessel is needed, not needed, even desired, then that is where this should be taken. Finally, we love seeing the family fun on the lake. We love whenever there's people up there. We love watching them out on all their different contraptions and tubing and all of that. We enjoy that, but that isn't this. This is more about a private need. It's not about family enjoyment for everybody to soak in and see. And the rest of the time, I'm yielding over to my husband.
Yeah, hi, this is Jim. I thought I had noticed in some of the previous documents as well that there was going to be a 34-foot boat. And also I think one of the documents early on referenced a roof structure on top of the hoist, a permanent roof structure. The roof structure I think was removed, but my concern is what prevents that coming in the future. And as my wife stated, with such a large vessel, a 34-foot boat, I don't see why that would be put out at a location like off a residential location. It seems that would be better off in town. And that's all I got.
All right, thank you for your comments. All right, is there anybody else who has not made a comment yet that would like to? If we don't have anyone else, what we'll do is close out this hearing part, go through the other ways to make a comment, and then we'll provide you with Nicole's contact info in case you have additional questions. So with that, I'm still not seeing any raised hands. And so Nicole, I'd like to invite you to read the closing statement tonight.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you all for your comments and cooperation. We appreciate your interest in the proposed project and that you took the time to be here with us tonight. As indicated at the beginning of the hearing, you may submit additional written comments until March 1st, 2025. Following the close of the public comment period, we will consider all comments received and make a decision on the proposed project. Just to remind those that may still want to submit a comment, comments can be submitted via the My Enviro portal, by email, or by US mail. The hearing is now closed. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. And I just brought up those other ways to make an official comment. I'm just going to read those off. Again, we're putting those in the chat. It's submission HQ6-M49G-Y9C27 through My Enviro. You can send those comments by mail to EGLE, the Bay City office, 401 Ketchum Street. That's Ketchum Street, Suite B, Bay City, Michigan, 48708. And again, the comment period will be open until March 1st. And then I have Nicole's contact information up. Nicole King, and she can be reached at 989-355-4959. and that's 989-355-4959, or by email at kingn12@michigan.gov, and that's KINGN, the number 12, at michigan.gov. All right. Any closing comments or final comments, Nicole or Randy, before we wrap things up? Okay, I think we're good to go then. Last thing I just want to share is just a reminder that this was recorded. This hearing was recorded. It'll be on our website next couple days on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to check it out there in case you want to watch it again or forward it on to someone. So with that, hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and thank you all for your comments and questions tonight. Thank you much.